Like it's a necessary path that we have to walk, and it's something that we should be comfortable in doing and going to the Father, going to God. But it's also something that we have to exercise the respect and the fear of knowing how bad it could be, how bad the outcome and punishment could be if we make a bad mistake, make bad judgment, or if we allow someone else's judgment or situations to affect us in a way that is negative.
Check.
Check.
Your mic working?
I think mine's working.
Is it?
It is yours.
Oh, now I see the little squiggly things.
Squigglies.
Squiggly.
Oh, well, hello and welcome back to the Next in Line podcast. I am your feral host, Chance Pitts. And if you look over here at this nicely trimmed, haircut having man over
Beard
here,
trimmed.
mustache tamed,
It's unfortunate, man.
that is Mr. Lane Divin. He is your somewhat less feral host.
Don't let me fool you.
You just saying it's a front?
I don't know.
Running
What
wild.
I do know is that my wife wishes that I still had my full beard, and so do I.
Really?
I don't know. Like, I go back and forth on it. I go through like highs and lows while you're rocking something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you catch a glimpse and you're like, dang, I'm looking like
Feral.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely feral. We were watching Happy Gilmore the other day, and I'm trying to. There's a reference I was gonna say from that, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was. Anyways,
Here we are.
it's just like boom. You're like, dude, for some of the people I meet at work, and at times it's like. There's more work going into maintaining my beard than anything else, and then it's just like I'm over it.
When you say maintaining, what were you?
I can't stand it whenever it gets like knots.
Oh yeah.
So I gotta go through comb it. I was putting some beard oil in there, making it soft.
I'll throw a little beard oil in there every once in a while, and I'll brush it. But
yeah. Do you have like a beard comb though?
I do, but I don't mess with it because it hurts.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's tangles. Boy. You don't go in there looking for pain. You just.
No, that's why you maintain it, man.
Yes, but
not maintaining the knots, but
if you want length and you want this thing to like be full when it comes out,
hey,
you can't trim it back.
I wasn't trimming it back. Well, I did a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just maintaining like.
I don't even get the lines on the top. I had a random hair pop up like by my eye the other day. Mm-hmm. They're just like coming in. All right.
Yeah.
Feral.
Yeah. Feral. But on the plus side, my beard grows pretty dang quick.
Yeah, mine too.
So, I mean, I'll be back in about a month and a half or so.
You just going to let her buck this time or what?
Dude, what's today? Today is March 12th.
Yep.
I will not shave. Let me reframe that. I will maintain a beard, this next beard that's in the baby stages again.
Yeah, you get your beard seeds.
For the entire year.
An entire year?
Entire year.
Okay.
What about you?
Dude, I've let this chin fro go for a while.
You know what? Even I'll even raise the stakes a little bit. I won't trim down, get rid of my beard until after I run the 100-miler.
Deal.
Bet.
I want to see it.
Okay.
All right. I like it. Y'all heard it here. Let's hold him accountable. But no, I ain't touched this thing in a while. I say that. The only thing I've trimmed on it is Lane can't stand my mustache. Yeah. Because whenever I eat, like just
it's all
everything.
Yeah, I understand.
All in it, dude. Like
so I guess there do I have any concessions there? Because same thing with me, mustache kindling about it.
I'll give you the mustache
Okay,
too, since
'cause
Lane,
you understand.
I fight Lane tooth and nail, but she
Yeah.
like finally is like, hey, no, like that's enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then she doesn't already like. I got the hair going pretty dang long too at this point. You know, it's.
You just growing
I'm gonna
it
let it
out,
go.
or
Man, I'm thinking. I'm kind of thinking about shoulder length or something. You know, just let her buck.
Oof.
I'll tell you
yeah.
though, the hair is probably the most annoying. Like highest of highs and lowest of lows. Like,
how so?
dude, it like every time I put on a hat,
Mm-hmm.
I have to like rake it
Yeah,
around and hope that it doesn't stick out
Yeah.
whenever I get the hat on.
that's fair.
And then, like, as far as actually styling, I got no clue what the heck I'm doing. Like, I'm thinking about just doing the Jesus part right down the middle, but Lane's like, nah,
Sporter right now.
dude, we ain't got time for that all of a sudden. That'd take me out of the feral category. I can't do that.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, man. I mean, you come in church rocking like it's the 70s. You got your long hair part, and rocking the big old beard. I'm just looking for that G20 Chevy van out in the parking lot.
Oh, dude, if I ever get that, like, there's no coming back. Like, I can't hold a stable job at that point. Like,
old time Hawkeye here in Devine, Texas.
Dude, I'm thinking more Uncle Rico, but less clean shaven.
Hey, now we're talking.
Watch me throw this football over them mountains.
Better yet, we'll just run over the mountains.
Yeah, we pretty much do that anyway.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, speaking of which, did some running this week.
Yeah, man. How'd it go for you?
The running was great.
Running was great. How what was your mileage this week? You had a higher week this week.
With hiking and everything, I went over 80 point something,
Gosh, dang,
81.
dude.
Pretty good week.
Making me look like I ain't doing nothing.
Man, we're on different skiddies, different schedules, man.
Yeah.
You're getting there. By no means are you slacking. You put in 17 milers right now, dude. Like that's from going to from where you were at with lifting and being off of running. In the short time period, you've climbed back up to 17 milers. That's pretty impressive.
Feeling pretty good too.
Yeah, putting good times down
I mean, like, for me, it's like the consistency part of it, obviously, because that's just how you continue to progress in training, right? Just consistency and discipline. But I will also say a large part of that, though, huge shout out to Justin, because right off the bat, he was putting me on some runs. It's like, well, am I actually ready for this? And went through, knocked it out, felt pretty good, and here we are. Starting double runs on the weekends, so that's a new one for me. This past weekend was, so
that's cool, man.
Really enjoying it though.
It's kind of been beautiful to watch because he's kept you right on the cusp of like progress coupled with soreness or fatigue, right? Like it's riding that fine line of not dipping the toes too far into like, okay, now I'm overreaching, but like still being super, super productive.
Yeah.
And it's good to see.
Well, and that's something that we were talking about on our run Saturday is like,
yes,
it has amazed me, every single week we've been right on that brink of like exactly where I need to be and just pushing just far enough. And then like that failure point is like right there in front of me, and like we just keep like hitting that edge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been pretty cool. It's been pretty surprising too. I don't know. I've really enjoyed it though.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch you just hit those times. Keep the heart rate down and reach these bigger distances. And honestly, it's been really fun because you're getting to the distances to where some of my longer and bigger runs, like I'm spending a significant amount of time out on the trails with you, and we're getting to talk about life and conspiracy theories and
all good things,
all the things we love to talk about.
Absolutely.
Of course, we won't go into that too far, of course, with the old State of the Union just happening and the world being in duress and shadow governments and whatnot. But but
we won't go there.
Speaking of crimes, though, because that's what the government does. But speaking of those, you asked me how that run went. The run went good.
Mm.
8 miles of hill climbs, about 2,100 feet of elevation.
Mm-hmm.
I start coming back to the truck, and I have like 0.2 miles to make up or something like that till I hit solid 8. And I was like, I'll run past the truck. And I run past, and I was like, man, that would really suck if somebody broke into my truck. Like, that thought literally
you just
came
had
into
that
my
thought?
head.
Yeah.
And I like looked at the driver's side as I approached, and I was like, okay, all good. And came back, and I get closer to it on the run back to the truck, and on the passenger side, sure enough, back rear window, or I guess back and rear is the same thing, but rear window on the passenger side of the truck has been smashed in.
Oh.
Duffel bag missing, work backpack missing, sentimental items missing.
Yeah.
Luckily, no firearms.
Yeah.
That would have been a whole different can of beans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't go through the truck really significantly either because I had like my Aggie ring in the middle console and a couple other things, and they didn't go
interesting.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they were looking for something quick, it seemed like, and they got it.
Yeah. Dang, man. So, coming up over, I mean, did it kind of just like hit you like a brick? You're just like, or was it kind of like a disbelief almost?
It was weird. It was kind of more on the disbelief side, but even with it, like I'd kind of convinced myself that it was going to happen at some point. And in that moment, whenever I said, "Man, hope somebody like," kind of had that feeling somebody might have done it, and I don't know why, but seeing it, I was like, "Well, there it is." So called my wife, told her what went on, called the cops, filled out a report, all that good stuff. But man, there ain't no way you're getting that stuff back. I think I lost a buckle from back in the day that I'd won. My Bible was in my backpack. Chad Wright's signed first copy, volume 1 of his Nuff Said book was in my backpack.
Oof.
Hoodie was in there.
Yeah.
What piss you off too is there's some cinch jeans that were in there. Those suckers are like $70.
White labels?
White labels, and they're in the trash can.
Son,
They were my newest pair.
So those are like $85, $90.
And they're in a trash can somewhere, I'm sure, with some other like my.
I mean, shoot, if you lost your buckle, I mean, belts ain't cheap either.
No, it's not. I mean, that was my newest belt too, because I got a few belts I cycle through, but yeah, it's just all of that stuff just gone. Not to mention I had my wallet in there as well, and a lot of personal information in the wallet, so I had to go through the whole rigmarole of getting all that crap figured out. And yeah, but overall, it's whatever.
So let me ask you this though, because whenever you first told me, obviously it's like that sucks, right? But what was it that you told me shortly after the fact? Whenever I asked, everything good?
Yeah, man, I just tried to tap into the mindset that we've been tapping into for this, honestly, the past 2-3 months, and more so into what we've been doing during this training cycle too. It's just like kind of a take a step back from the emotions and try to have a mindset of gratitude. And as like I told you, that they needed it more than I did, and I hope they get something out of it because they stole a really good book for developing yourself, and they stole a Bible. And I don't know, you kind of just, in the back of your head, you have a feeling that it was some guy that's probably just pawning everything off, throwing everything away that he can and whatnot. But at the same time, you always hope for the best. At least that's what we've been taught to do in these situations, and assume the best, right, until proven otherwise. And man, there's a million different ways you could look at this sucker, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully they stole the laptop and now their kid's doing schoolwork on it. I know that's a reach, but like maybe something like that.
My biggest thing, I've tried to always maintain the mindset of, you can only control what you can control, right?
Correct.
Everything else that's out there, I mean, you can have thoughts about it or whatever. But I mean, if you can't change anything, then it's not there's no point in wasting that energy on it.
Correct. Yes.
And just like just the mindset that you responded back to me with, I mean, I think it just really highlights like how far you've come, like how far we've come in this process. I was just telling you earlier, I was like, reflecting back to when my stupid tackle bag flew out of the boat, you're just like visibly just upset. And it's like, even more than I was. And you're like, I don't know how you even deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, like, circling back around to, like, your truck is getting broken into. You got stuff that has a lot of, you know, sentimental value and obviously some, like, physical value, too. Just that mindset that you have, that, you know, it's like, it's pretty apparent, like, the progress that this has had on you just in general. So that's pretty cool.
I appreciate that. I mean, man, there's just a lot to be thankful for. They didn't, knock on wood, they didn't do it at the house.
Yeah.
Didn't do it where I've got a baby and a wife here. It was me parking somewhere where there's no traffic really and there's no cameras and anything. It was an easy pick. I mean, I left my stuff exposed and out in the open on the seat, bags that we know from the Houston days. you don't do that.
Yeah.
And so it was just as much my fault. And I think just coming at it from the right side, like I can tell you right now, I wanted to at one point just like, I'll just come on here and rip up how people can be just absolute pieces of crap, you know? Like there was a part of me that was just like, man, people, you all right over there?
I'm good, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Watch caught the old microphone.
Microphone attacked you. But no, I just wanted to come on here to a point too and just be like, man, I've always said I hate a thief. I genuinely I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And I've always had the mindset of like, you know, if I could ever find a way to track them down, we'd figure this out. Like I'd go handle it basically, you know, and it just, why, you know, I got great things to be thankful for. I got all my stuff changed. I got all my stuff as protected as I can in this situation with what they took from me and the information they got. And it's cool. Like there's nothing at this point, knock on wood, that they could do that would just absolutely cripple me or my family. Like I said, it's not that they did something terrible to the things and the people that really matter around me. So
yeah,
it's whatever, man.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'd not waste the time or energy.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. I mean, it's also one of those things, like, it could always be worse, too.
Yeah. Could have taken the truck.
Yeah. I mean, could have taken the truck, or like you said, you know, it could have happened back here at the house, or, yeah, I mean, even worse scenarios than that, so.
Yeah.
You know,
could have found me on the trail and stole all my stuff from me there and left me stranded.
Stole them Luckies.
Man. Hey, that was one thing. So I've got a Craftsman toolbox that has all of my running stuff in it.
Yeah.
It was moved.
They're like,
they grabbed it,
I'm
looked
good.
in it, and saw all the crap, and were like, no. They put it back. And they didn't touch my bag full of supplements either.
Like, dang hippie.
Yeah, they were like, what's wrong with this dude? I bet he's got a big old beard and some long hair. Feral
looking boy.
That's probably what it was, dude. And they're not wrong. But I didn't, like I said, didn't have truck guns in there, didn't have all the normal things.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, fair enough. I finally remembered that reference, like Grizzly Adams.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Well, cool, man. I mean, it's just a learning experience overall. I mean, that's what it comes back to. And, you know, now you've been in this situation. You've had your truck broken into.
Yeah, this is the first.
Unfortunately, but, you know, I mean, you can always take something from it. So
you can, yeah. I mean, I'm sure at some point in my career I'll be further into a position. I'm in a management spot now, but I might have people under me that deal with the same thing and call me freaking out and offer them some guidance.
Yeah, absolutely. And just let them go handle it and do what they need to.
Yeah, and I mean,
makes you more relatable.
That's right, man. Just a feral, relatable man.
Well, dang, man.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we'll be able to recover from this.
Recover, you say?
Oh, did I say recover?
Hot dang, man.
Oh man, we do the worst segues. I apologize in advance, Chris and Kyle, but
They're probably gonna pull us after
probably so. But while we're
take
here,
away half our discount.
dude, they're offering only 5% now instead of the 10. Now, guys, if you are needing to recover, you find yourself in the Conroe area, y'all need to swing into Access Recovery. I've got an old hat here I'm holding up. Once the camera switches over here, I will make sure to show it where everybody can see it nice and easy. But regardless, Chris and Kyle have a state-of-the-art facility over there at Access Recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Lane, you want to tell them something?
I was gonna say what all they got in there, man.
Oh man, let me see if I can remember. There's so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Dive into it.
Dive in like that cold plunge. Speaking of which, they got
Dang right.
state-of-the-art cold plunges. Very, very nice units over there. I think everyone has a rubber duck in it as well to keep you company while you're freezing in there, man.
Hot dang. Do you know how cold those cold plunges get over there?
Man, I don't know. I've heard that they run them in the 40s, some in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hot dang is right because right next door to the cold plunge
Is the sauna,
is
baby.
the sauna, commercial grade saunas. They got Bluetooth connections for you to be able to jam to some music while you're sitting in there in the sauna, just sweating it out and getting some of that red light therapy going. And man, along with that, that's just in the rooms, in the private rooms, but you come out and you've got access to Normatec boots. You got access to the hip attachments with the Normatecs, so they can squeeze out all that lactic acids build up in those muscles, and you've been working out and just straining yourself and getting sore. They can help with that. From there, they got a little stretch lab area, man. They got an exercise bike for a little warm up to break them muscles loose before you go do your contrast therapy or your stretching or whatever. And man, you just got all of that.
Just all the recovery options.
Everything you could need to recover. And they got 2 studs running the shop there.
Oh boy.
2 guys that have ran ultra marathons, who have lifted weights, who do CrossFit consistently. They are athletes through and through, and they give a crap about you. Y'all can use that as a motto if you want to. Athletes through and through, give a crap about you. That's what I would use to describe those guys. They are awesome over there at Access Recovery. True professionals, very knowledgeable, and they do the things that they help you
Recover from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and be better for.
And I mean, again, just tying back to like the relationship aspect. I mean, they're building relationships with all their clients, and they're also going out and helping the community, man.
They are, man.
So, in what way are they helping the community right now? What are they sponsoring that's coming up?
They're actually the official recovery sponsor for Hyrex.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what that is? It's like a hybrid athlete style workout systems where you're hitting a workout and then you're running, like running, not just like a little rep of running. You're running, and then you're hitting another workout, and then you're running again, and then you're hitting another workout. And it's super intense, and it's something you probably have to take some time to properly recover from.
Mm-hmm.
Who could be a better sponsor for Hyrox 2024 than Access Recovery?
Absolutely. So, if y'all get the opportunity, go in there, stop by, mention Next in Line Development, and get 10% off of your next visit. So,
sounds pretty good to me.
Absolutely, man. Can't beat it.
Can't beat it. Well,
shoot, man. What else you got going on this week?
Oh, man, got a big...
Go ahead.
What you got?
No, I was just going to keep the crowd up to date on my topo adventure.
Oh, God. I think we need to dive off into the topo old blister shoes.
Hey, man. We have, knock on wood.
That's fake wood.
We've
Hey, your chair's real. There you go.
We, we are a solid 2. Dude, I think I looked at my Garmin earlier because I keep up to date with all my gear on there and everything. Yeah. I think we're at like 275, 300 miles, and no blisters the last 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks.
So, making progress.
That's right. Lane Dibbins' feet are entirely one big callus. Finally, keeping him from blistering. It is perfect. It's everything we could have hoped for. The topos are working, guys.
Clifton Nines are on their way, folks.
That's right. Hey, knock on wood, I'm worried because I had a couple of hot spots after running with my new Hokas. Things that were just a
The
little
new
bit
goats?
New goats. I've worn those shoes for everything, but
Really?
yeah, I didn't change the insoles out like I usually do, so I'm wondering if that's not what it was. And it was areas that could have insole impact kind of issues. So I'm hoping that that's all I'm dealing with. And we'll see. I'll keep you posted. We could be going down a rabbit hole just like old Div
So
here.
are you saying all I had to do was just swap the insoles on my Topos and I would have had 250 miles
of
blister
not
free?
blisters? Probably.
Because if I recall correctly, you gave me a hard time about that a few weeks ago.
I did. I think I mentioned insoles, man. I think.
I mean, potato. I don't know.
Yeah. There.
It's all good.
That's right. Also, if y'all hear some just like screeching like that, I don't know if y'all heard that, but y'all hear some screeching. My daughter it is bath time, and that little thing she loves baths, just wilding out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's all it is. She likes to sing, she likes to talk, and it echoes in the bathtub, so it's perfect for her. But
man, why don't we go ahead and dive into it? Last time we were in finished in Matthew 9, going into Matthew 10.
Sure enough, Matthew 10. And hey, I want to know if anybody actually did what we challenged them to do. If you did tag along for chapter 10, you read some chapter 10 Matthew as pre-work for this thing, kind of like we talked about, let us know. Leave a comment on there. Shoot us a DM on whatever platform you're on, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. That's at Next in Line Development on any of those platforms. Let us know if you did. Let us know if you got some different conclusions or different points or things that were prevalent for you that we don't cover in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even if we do cover them, just let us know what really stuck out to you, what made that impact. There are some definite spots in here that hit me a little more. And I know, there's the same for you in different areas, I'm sure, just as it has been this entire time. So,
oh yeah,
for the most part. So,
yeah, I think so for sure, man. You know what? I want you to lead the way though. I want you to tell me what you got. What you got? Kick her off for chapter 10.
Yeah, man. So I mean, going into it, starting out, he calls the 12 disciples, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they become the 12 apostles. Do you notice that difference there?
I did notice that difference.
Do you know the difference between a disciple and an apostle?
What is the difference between a disciple and apostle?
Do you actually know? Or
I
have an idea.
I know in the sense of being granted abilities and the power to actually heal the way that Christ was. But I don't know further, like if there's a definition kind of approach or anything that really breaks into the differentiation between those two.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I don't truly know myself. I'm just kind of speculating, right?
Sure.
But I mean, we're all called to be, followers. And I kind of feel like that's essentially what a disciple is, right? It's just a follower.
Yeah.
But an apostle is like somebody who was chosen, is like given that like authority, essentially, like you said. Like, no, you are a chosen follower, I guess, per se. And I don't know if there's any actual like power behind that, but yeah, I mean that is just I don't know, it's just something easy to skip over. And I feel like disciple and apostles are interchangeably used quite often, especially talking about the 12 disciples or 12 apostles. I mean, whichever way you want to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was interesting. And, the wide variety of the men that are chosen. I mean, you have Matthew, who is a tax collector working for the Romans, right?
Yeah.
And then who was it that was willing to wage war against the Romans?
The zealot, Simon.
Simon, right? I mean, dude, they're on like the chosen team.
Yeah, yeah,
They're the all-star team. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And they're on that team. They gotta go out there, work together in this pursuit that Jesus has them on. And I think it just goes to show, like, um, you there's all sorts of opportunities out there, and you can't really focus on the selfish reasons why you're there, or kind of some of your own like selfish like ideologies or whatever it may be, right? Because you have two guys that are there on two completely different ends of the spectrum, collectively working together for the same thing, I guess.
yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting that you brought that up, and the perspectives involved with that too, because the zealot, I mean, you can imagine that willing to wage war and willing to like trained to fight,
Yeah.
and to be a weapon against the Romans, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And on the, not to cut you off, but like Matthew isn't just a tax collector though. Do you know like the principle of like how they made their wages as a tax collector?
Yes. Yeah.
You want to dive into that?
Are you talking about like the? Go ahead. You go ahead.
So it's like
Sure
there's the
about.
wages that they owed, obviously, but then any extra that they got was like that percentage they got to keep for themselves.
Yes, and Rome awarded the highest bid, whoever was gonna basically stick it to the Jews the most, the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, they're out there literally, I mean, making blood money in a way. You know what I mean? And so, just to point out that fact, like, it's not just a tax collector; it's a dude making his living wages off of
the hard-earned money of the Jews.
Yeah,
his people.
Yeah,
yeah. And where I was going with that, I mean, as far as those who stood to, and there's such a weird dichotomy there, because like Simon the Zealot, most of the disciples, most of the people that knew Jesus came, were there because he thought he was going to lead the resistance against the Romans. Like, they thought that he was going to deliver them from the Romans, conquer the Romans, defeat them in battle, all of these things, right? Which, the risk reward, no, don't get me wrong, Simon leaving his order and walking away, that's a dangerous thing. Don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of risk involved in that too, but it's a risk to pursue something that he was already in pursuit of, in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps if everybody is still believing that they're still going to overthrow and defeat the Romans, and he's going to deliver the Jewish people. Now, on the other side, I can appreciate Matthew's point of view, because the man had everything given to him that he could want.
Yeah.
He lived in a spot where he was probably in high favor with the Romans. He wasn't treated like trash. He had a nice house. From the sounds of it, they met and had dinner there. He had a group of people that were other tax collectors. He had protection by the Romans. Like, there was a lot of different factors that like probably were good for him situationally.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to drop all of that and completely walk out on faith and not know what was coming, right? Not understand fully, like, yeah, this could be the deliverer, like the conqueror of the Romans. But he's been in that spot where he served the Romans and done all these things. And to me, it's more of an unknown for him. It's more of a walk out on faith. It's literally walking out to where faith is the only thing that he had left, right? And that's such a powerful thing to me that grabbed me, because like,
I think it's just so relatable.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Like, whenever you get to a point that all you have is your faith, and you're just solely putting all of the cookies in that cookie jar, all of the eggs in that basket, right? Whenever you're there, like, it's such a beautiful place of uncertainty and worry and stress, but also this peace of, it's like you finally realize that I don't have to go make all the money and build this life for myself. I don't have to have all this stress and the weight of everything going perfectly and it being on my shoulders and me being the man or me being the leader or the manager or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be that, right? It is truly faith and understanding that through doing the work and following the path and doing the things that you're supposed to do, it'll happen.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a really cool thing. I grabbed that whenever you said that.
Yeah. I mean, and still diving into that too, like, you know, Matthew does have everything like you talked about. And, you know, for so many of us too, it's like we take so much for granted, I guess.
Yeah.
And we are on that spectrum of, like, you know, we do have a house, we got jobs, we got all these things that we don't have to worry about. And so it's still that unknown factor. It's like, well, all of this, at least for us, it's like, obviously we are very grateful and appreciative of it, right? But it's still never not enough. Like, there's still that satisfaction factor that's just not being checked marked, or not for long enough, at least. You know what I mean? And so that's just another aspect of it too. So
yeah, and I think that's a big part of the reason too why we started down this path.
right? I mean, it is the reason.
Yeah. So that's super relatable. I mean, building off of that, just like throughout the conversation of 10, there's a theme that's like, that was so, I read it in something, and it was so beautiful that, like, it's real easy to get caught up in the fact that with all of these things and these instructions and these powers that Jesus gave to these disciples, they became apostles. They are different. They're these all-stars, right? They're the guys that are, man, they're way better than we are. But the beautiful thing about this passage is, as we work through it, this isn't just an instruction manual and a set of rules for the disciples and the apostles to go out and live by during this time. This is a roadmap for you and I. And it was within the past 2 Sundays we were at church, actually, and a stat was shared by our pastor, Kevin, whenever he was up there, and he talked about 63%, I think it was last Sunday, 63% of Americans classify themselves as Christians.
Yep.
But only 4% classify themselves or self-identify as disciples.
Which is crazy.
Which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because, and it hit home for me because, like, if somebody asked me if I was a disciple of Christ, I would be like, I don't think so. Yeah. But that's what we're practically called to do, even here with the instructions that are laid out for us and that were laid out for the apostles and the disciples. I mean, this is a roadmap to live. The Beatitudes were a roadmap to live. Like, we are them.
Yeah, you know, for me, it hit home pretty hard too. And I think, you know, kind of some of that differentiating facts there is, like, you know, Christianity, in one regard, like, obviously it's a religion, but I feel like it's often regarded as just like an ideology of, like, this is how I believe, versus the you know, active discipleship of, like, no, this is how I live. And I mean, our pastor brought up the simple fact of how many people go out and pay for a monthly gym membership, right? Like,
wild stat. Sorry.
And you know, they're working towards a you know, healthier lifestyle, right? Non-committed. The idea is there, but the lifestyle isn't, comparative to those that are actually living and breathing the active, healthy lifestyle. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And the way he summed that up hit home with me. And I didn't realize it was going to be so prevalent in what we're talking about right here until now. Yeah. But he talked about how 60 million people get that gym membership. And of the 60 million, 67% don't ever go. That's 40 million people that are, he said it, making a charitable contribution to Planet Fitness was his joke. And I don't want to steal that from him, but it hits home so well because he said if you ask those people, they would say, I'm trying to work on my fitness.
Yeah.
But what he said to solidify that is that training beats trying every single time.
Yeah.
And it just there was so many good things that I took away from that lesson right there. And
no, absolutely. I mean, it truly ties into what we're talking about here now.
Yeah, I mean we are called to train and to be like the disciples, to follow the path, to follow the way that is laid out by Jesus. And that's so much more prevalent than I could have even imagined.
That kind of ties into a verse the end of a verse that I definitely underlined. Looking at verse 8 right there, it goes through, he says, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. But what stuck to me was, freely you have received, freely give.
Yeah.
And, again, that just ties into just the simple fact of, like, we take this right here for granted. I mean, there's people out there in other countries and other, cities, whatever it may be, they don't have free access to this. There's people being killed to even look at this Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And though they are freely receiving it and trying to freely give it, they are definitely judged for those actions. And here it's like, why do we shy away at the fact of, like, just simply sharing the message whenever there's no there's no rebuke from it, other than that dude's weird, or I don't agree with that. Like there's no true consequences to it.
Yeah, the levels of, because Jesus said we'd be persecuted.
Yeah.
But the levels of persecution are so different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if you can say surface level. Like, is there even a level to it? Well, you know what I mean?
It's death. It's death in places like you talked about versus self-imposed things that we're like, oh man, they're gonna think I'm weird, and people don't even. Some people do, but not everybody. Like, if you approach somebody, you have no idea what they're gonna say.
Yeah.
But you already got these punishments written out in your head, and the persecution written in your head that's like, oh, he's going to think I'm weird, or they're going to think I'm odd, or they're going to think I'm some Bible thumper or freak. But yeah, it's just.
And the older I've gotten too, it's the more I realize nobody's really paying attention to anything anyways.
Right?
So you can go do something. I mean, I'm not saying go do something wild, but
be
it's
feral.
All the things that you're so self-conscious about, I'd say a solid 90-95% of the time, nobody even notices. And of those percent that do notice, do they they don't even care.
Yeah, or they think that their situation is worse than yours, and they're embarrassed of that, and it's this subconscious screwball cycle / storm that everybody just thinks they're terrible or self-conscious or has these preconceived notions of how bad things are going to go, and it's just false.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it comes back to, what we were talking about on our run too. It's just the self-imposed limits or boundaries that you put on yourself. Whenever you put those limitations on you, I mean, that's just your self-perceived limitation, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, once you hit that point, you're gonna be like, dang, well, I made it. This is as far as I can go. And then it's just what's the point of doing it all versus just going into it blind and just being like, let's see what can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The person that admits they don't know will be apt to learn, whereas the person that thinks they know will not.
Yep.
And I've lived that life.
I mean, I certainly have, and I'm pretty dang certain anybody listening to this has too. So
yeah. Oh, grabbing onto and moving further into Matthew 10, there's a verse that stuck with me, a couple of them actually, that hit me really hard, and it's 12 through 14. And when ye come into a house, salute it. And if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it be not worthy, let your peace return to you. And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet. So what hit me really hard in the beginning of this was, regardless, in 13, he goes on to say, and if the house be worthy, let your peace come upon it. So the peace, the blessing, has nothing to do with the respect that he gives immediately and how he approaches the house or the people or the city, right? He's coming in with a kindness and an openness and a just respect, right? I mean, it is, and when ye come into a house, salute it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then from there, the blessing and all the differentiation and figuring out where everything lies. And that's where you don't cast your pearls before swine, right? And you make the differentiation. And if they're not willing to receive, then, well, shake your feet or shake the dust off your feet as you're leaving. Don't take it with you and move on.
Just keep on going.
That's right.
Yep.
But it hit me because it talks a lot about that preconceived notion in that first thing, like not coming in with an assumption about the people, but truly going in open and respectful to the situation and starting out the way it's supposed to be, how you would want to be treated.
Yeah. And I think that ties pretty nicely into, what hit me next was looking at verse 16 right there. I'm sending you out like sheep among the wolves, therefore be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like a lot of times just the perception of being a Christian and following God and Jesus and everything is like, I'm doing the thing and life is going to be hunky-dory, perfect, sunshine and rainbows, when actually it's quite the opposite.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so often we pray for a thing and instead he gives us opportunity for that. If we're praying for faith or to build that relationship, I mean, it's not just going to instantly be like, here you go. It's more so here's a situation or an opportunity, right? Depending on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to test you, and through this process, we're going to grow closer. I mean, you can look at so many different examples throughout the Bible of people being literal martyrs for this, right? And we can look at different examples throughout history itself. I mean, it's not just a easy hunky-dory life. And, if we are doing as we should be, which is being disciples,
yes.
Going out, spreading the word and everything else, there's a precise reason why it says, I am sending you out like sheep among the wolves. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do.
And you have to be as shrewd as a snake and as innocent as a dove. I mean, I feel like it just speaks so well to, like, the journey that you're going to be on and the discernment that you have to have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The discernment, yeah, it's such a heavy thing, like knowing, not being gullible, like understanding what is truly something that is a redeemable situation, or something that is a situation where you'll be accepted with love and respect in that same way that you have to bring that in at the beginning of the conversation, but also just having a true innocence and a true, like, a peace bringing mindset and a point of wanting the absolute best for that other person, no matter what, right? It's regardless of their stature, what their social standing is, economic standing, or whatever it is. It's the peace and the respect, and it's just the absolute openness in my mind, and based off of that, I love that one too. And it is the innocence, as you're going to be going out against the wolves that are going to try to tear you apart. They're going to try to take what you say and twist it, and they're going to try to do all the same things that they did to Jesus, right? Whenever he came in, trying to cast him as the prince of demons and trying to say all these terrible things about who he is, what he does, why he's got the abilities, that he's blasphemy, full of all these unholy things, and yeah, it's hard to remain that sheep in that situation. Wolves like to fight wolves, So.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's just, and part of that too is like, how many false teachers are there that are out there?
Yeah.
And just how easily it can be to just fall into that trap and, if you're not comparing it to what the scripture actually says, and instead of whatever that individual may be saying, or even false idols or whatever else it may be, it's just I feel like it just really speaks light to the fact of, one, how we must be, but two, just how dang like I'd say relatable it is in a way that you have to be today, just from everything that we're subjected to on a consistent basis.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And there's a lot of different. We live in a world where there's a lot of different people that are very good at conversation, very good at articulating what they want to say, and they have a very skewed point of reality. Their morality, their systems of beliefs, what they base those decisions and those beliefs off of, they're not rooted in something that is foundationally like relevant, foundationally good, foundationally something that matters, right? And there's a lot of conversation about the Bible. There's a lot of conversation about the good and the bad, and what is, whether it's real, whether it's prevalent, right? And so many people grab onto society, and they grab onto their ability to speak and the expectations of what people want them to say, or what would be good to say here, or how they could virtue signal to tell people that, hey, I'm of the people, I'm nice, I'm awesome, like I stand with you, I stand with justice for all this stuff that is literally going against what is in here.
The word, yeah.
Yeah, and the Bible talks about these situations and these occurrences and these false teachers and all that, and I don't know, it's super prevalent. You hit the nail on the head.
I mean, it just to kind of tie that point up, skipping down to verse 22, it says literally, you will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved.
Yeah.
So.
No, it does. It
just continues to shed light on just the situation in general. So.
It does. It really does. And man, just carrying through there with some of the situations they're going to find themselves in. He talks about through in 24, 25, 26, just going into the disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master the house of Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Fear them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. What I tell you in darkness, that speak ye in light, and what ye hear in the ear, that preach ye upon the housetops. And then what really, really, he talks about all these bad things that they're going to endure. He talks about all these situations they're going to fight all through those early 20s. But then that next verse is what really, something that I wrote down and struck me hard.
Yeah.
Right? Because we do put so much weight upon what other people think. We put so much weight upon how what we say is going to be taken, if we should even be able to have these conversations or say these things to people or be prevalent in trying to spread the word, right? But we put all this worldly persecution upon ourselves, but then we get down to number 28. When we're filled with fear because of the world, it says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Right? It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also ties or sheds light on the fact of just the fear in general, right? Especially with this may come off a little weird. Just like in the times that we're living in, right? It's not hard to easily conceive we could see another war on the horizon pretty easily, right? We can see some pretty heinous individuals on the streets doing stuff that we just don't agree with, and it makes us worried in a way, right?
Breaking into truck. No, I'm joking.
But I mean, same individual came after your wife and your daughter. Came after you. You didn't have anything to defend yourself, and they had whatever they needed to take you. You know what I mean? It's just easy to put yourself in those shoes of like you can take on that emotion of fear just from the unknown or just from the lack of feeling of self-defense, right? But I mean, it literally says right here, like, do not be afraid of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul. And I feel like so many times we put more emphasis on the tangible things, such as those individuals in front of us, compared to the weight of God, who can literally take care of our soul and put it, bring us to heaven or put us down in hell. And that's something that I've struggled with at times, because so consistently you hear, fear God. It's like, well, why should I fear God? Like, he loves me, right? He wants us to have that relationship. But whenever you shift that perspective a little bit, it's like, no, he is God. You should have that fear out of respect for him.
Yeah.
Comparative to, like, I'm creating these situations and that aren't actually tangible. They're just a thought in my head. You know what I mean?
It does. And I like what you said about the fear and the kind of dichotomy of it and the way it's shaped, right? Because just consider dying here on earth in some way. Like you said, if somebody coming in and murdering you, right? That's something where you could be like, man, I'm afraid of that. I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to go into crowded places. Like I want to conceal carry everywhere I go, no matter what.
I'm afraid of the what ifs that I can't control.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah.
But you have the fear of that, and it's such a worldly thing. But then there's other things that, like, I think there's kind of a ratio here, and bear with me, because there's a fear of God, but a respect there that also lives, right? And it's almost the same thing we could do when talking about driving, per se. And what I mean by that is that driving is a necessary thing that we do every single day to get to our destinations. Mm-hmm. It is how we transport ourselves to get to where we have to go to earn our living, to take our kids to school so they can learn and grow and develop, so we can go to the grocery store so we can get food. It is necessary, much like going to God, right? And there's a certain level of fear that we can have when driving, because if we know for sure, like, the most dangerous thing that we do when we walk out the door isn't going into a crowded building and somebody coming in and shooting the place up. It's not somebody pulling a knife and trying to rob us on the street as we're walking. It is driving. Separated by like a foot and a half on the highway from somebody speeding the opposite direction doing 75 miles an hour. One mistake and we are dead. Mm-hmm. But there's little fear there because we know we have to go there. We're comfortable in it, right? Versus anytime something can go wrong, it's just like anytime something's outside of the norm on that, we like freak out, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a decent analogy for kind of this relationship that we have with God. Like, it's a necessary path that we have to walk, and it's something that we should be comfortable in doing and going to the Father, going to God. But it's also something that we have to exercise the respect and the fear of knowing how bad it could be, how bad the outcome and punishment could be if we make a bad mistake, make bad judgment, or if we allow someone else's judgment or situations to affect us in a way that is negative, right? It could be a really, really bad thing, but as long as we're walking in faith and understanding, we're comfortable in that, and the path leads where we're supposed to go. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I love that. Absolutely. And just kind of carrying on into that next little section, something that I loved is, him talking about the two sparrows.
Yeah.
It goes in talking about, are not two sparrows sold for a penny, yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid, you are worth more than many sparrows. And that just sheds light back on, like, what our self-worth actually is, because I feel like oftentimes we also lose sight of that. And it's just like something that's just taken for granted too often as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he's out there taking care of sparrows, then why wouldn't he take care of me too?
Yeah.
And, I feel, oftentimes it's just, if you're going through something dark or you're in a valley or whatever it may be, it's just easy to lose sight of that. And just reflecting back on this passage and just seeing, how often that has been apparent in so many different situations in my own life. It's like, no, like, there is still that, like, he still cares. And it's just remembering that too.
Yeah. That's a really good point, man. That ties back into what we've talked about multiple times too, where it's like, man, understanding that he's going to be there no matter what. And it's not about whether we're worthy or not, because we'll never be worthy, but he's there in grace.
Yeah.
For us. I like that a lot, man.
And what are your thoughts on verse 34 right there? That's something that I liked quite a bit.
I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, so I've got that one labeled, and 32 kind of ties in the same way. But it's just like, man, think not that I am come. Sorry, I got the King James Version. I'm not used to reading the King James Version, so stick with me. But 34 goes, think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like, it's not in the way that anybody expected, right?
I mean, it ties back into the fact of like, oh, I'm a Christian, I have a hunky-dory life. Like, everything is all peaceful and good to go, man.
Yeah.
Like, everybody just has a perception of, forgive me, I say everybody, but like the typical perception of Jesus is just like this kind of like, I feel like kind of like a pushover type of dude, just there to like, hey, like I'm gonna perform some miracles, I'm gonna save your life, which is pretty phenomenal, obviously, but not somebody that's there to bring a sword. Like, what?
Yeah. And it ties into that side of like, and I have lived this. I have been here. So I say this, and maybe this will be something that throws y'all off or offends you if you're listening, but good people go to a good place, is the belief. It's what I believed.
Yeah.
Right? And Scripture says that it's not by actions alone. It's not. Honestly, it says that more or less actions don't matter. What you do here, your works, ain't worth a hill of beans. Like,
no, I mean, your consequences and rewards will be based off of your actions, absolutely. But for what you're saying, yeah, absolutely.
But it's the faith in the Lord.
Yeah, it's that relationship.
It is.
It's not just being a good person, doing good deeds. It's so much more than that.
It is. There's an aspect that has to be. And like to me, that's one of those things where it carries on from verse 34 there. It really gets into the nitty-gritty of the hard life choices that we are going to have to make. It gets into the points of talking later in Matthew 10 about verse 36, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And he that taketh not his cross and followeth me is not worthy of me. So it's literally like jumping back to verse 35. For I have come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. It's talking about the hard choices that we're going to be faced with. It is the sword. It is fighting for the faith, fighting for what we believe, because just in this brief journey, I mean, I know I've turned some people off of being my friend. Like I know that there's people that wouldn't, especially in the areas of life that I hung around in, the people that I associated myself with, the kind of person I was, doesn't fit this bill.
Yeah.
And it's going to turn people against me. It's going to cause disruptions, quote unquote disruptions in my life. It's going to cause people to be at ends with me. It's going to cause arguments, heated things, debates. There's going to be family members that don't see eye to eye with me. There's going to be family members likely that I choose to not associate myself with, and there's going to be family members that choose to not associate themselves with me, right? And it is of the sort. It is a hard line. It is a fight. It is a battle that we're going to have to truly, truly walk in. It's acceptance and understanding and peace, but it's not a full out tolerance of lawlessness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Well, and you touched base on it briefly too. Verse 38, whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. And, looking back at those time periods and the different forms of torture and death that they had back then, like, that's pretty radical.
Yeah.
Taking up your cross was literally equivalent to, like, us signing up for a death warrant.
Yeah.
Or the death penalty here. And, just obviously, like, the just sheer weight of the pain and everything else that you have to go through dying on the cross, but it's also just in a roundabout way, just like the publicity and like humility from that. And the only thing that they were given was that they weren't going to be tied up on the cross naked. That's the only grace that they were given because of the laws in that time period too. And so it's just like, you got these all-star players that are coming to this team per se, and they're being told like, no, you gotta take up your own cross, otherwise you're not worthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
this is also the first time the cross is even mentioned in the Bible.
I did not realize that.
Yep.
That's fair.
So.
And that's, man, there's a lot of doom and gloom and bad things that'll happen on there, but I do think he rounds off with some pretty positive stuff, right? That he that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. That's verse 40. Then moving on to verse 41, he that receiveth a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward, and he that receiveth a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward. And lastly, in 42, and whosoever shall give to drink unto one of these little ones a cup of cold water, only in the name of a disciple, verily I say unto you, he shall in no wise lose his reward. And there's a lot of jargon in the King James version of the Bible that like throws you for a loop, but it just talks about the good acts and the good acts in faith, right? Yeah. And for the right reasons and following Jesus with the right posture of heart, the right approach, the right purpose. And I think that's just so important and something we'd be remiss to drive home is this is going to be hard. This is going to be a battle. It's going to be of the sword. It's going to be divisional. It's going to cause disruptions in your life when it comes to friends and family and those around you, but the rewards are sweet. The life that you live from it and the life that you get after all of this worldly stuff is over is worth it. Yeah,
dude. I mean, it ties back into a couple conversations ago of like, don't store your treasures here on earth. For though it may seem like a lifetime to us here, our lifetime on earth is just like a blip in eternity. And it's the eternal life that we're talking about. All the strife and heartache and tough situations that we go through here is to continue building that faith and relationship that we have with Jesus and God, and even more so draw others to that same opportunity that we have right now.
Yeah.
And just as freely as we have received, we should freely give.
Yeah.
Because it's the eternal rewards and life that we're truly after. It's not just the immediate, tangible, physical things that turn back into dust. So
I'm starting to think there was a lot more lessons in my truck being broken into than than I took away in the get-go.
but it's
Yeah,
good, man. I mean, all opportunities are there. And, you know, as I like to say, it's all perspective.
it's all perspective, baby.
That's all it is, dude.
Yeah.
So,
And man, I think living in that main theme that I just this is
and not to get it wrong either. I mean, we're still talking about ideas, right?
yeah.
But the difference is actively seeking out and practicing that lifestyle.
Yeah, training versus trying.
Yeah, and it's not easy.
It's not.
I mean, even just a simple decision of like listening to like what type of music you're listening to and subjecting yourself to, and just, I mean, it's not easy, but it's worth it. So
yeah, the conversations you allow yourself to be privy to, and don't step away from, the things that you choose to consume in forms of entertainment, food, and music, and those kind of things. I mean, it's all super, super relevant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, man. Well, folks, again, if y'all dove into Matthew 10, like I hope and pray that y'all did, you know, reach out to us, shoot us a text, shoot us a DM, you know, comment over there on YouTube or any of our videos on social media. You know, just let us know what hit you, what were some thoughts that really stuck out to you, and, you know, just continue on in this journey with us. So
Yeah, absolutely. We look forward to hearing from y'all. Challenge you again going forward to dive into Matthew chapter 11 with us this coming week. We'd love to hear from y'all there. And, man, y'all just go out and get after it. Push yourselves. Try to make yourself a little bit better in some regard, whether it's the spiritual side, whether it's the mental side, or the physical side. And if we can help you in that journey in any way at all, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out.
that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here.
That's what we're here to do. So
That's right. Well,
cool,
folks, with that, go out, challenge yourself, do hard things, and always be prepared for whatever is
next in line.
There we go.
Adios, folks.